안녕하십니까? 오늘 이 시간에는 페더럴웨이 지역의 판사 후보인 미치 그린을 모셨습니다. Welcome to our KOAM studio.
Thank you very much for having me.
Would you please introduce yourself to our viewer?
Yes, first of all, thank you for having me here. My name is Mitch Greene. I've been an attorney for 33 years. I started my pro temping back in 1997 when a judge actually asked me to improve my craft, and it was very helpful. And I saw it from the other side of the bench, which I was normally a defense attorney. And for the last 5 years, 5 to 6 years, I've been a pro tem 50% of the time, both in King County District Court as well as Fe더럴웨이 Municipal Court and all the municipal courts around the area. And that's pretty much me.
So most of the time, do you live in this area?
Yes, in South King County. So in South Seattle, I've lived here pretty much my whole life except for when I went to college. In New York, came back, went to law school at the University of Puget Sound, which of course is now Seattle University when they bought it and moved it. But I would travel from South Seattle during law school, pass by Fe더럴웨이 every day.
University of Seattle is famous for the law school.
Yes.
So you're one of the colleagues there.
Yes, I actually, it's when they it's a funny quick story, which is when they sold the law school from UPS and it went to Seattle University. They asked you if you wanted which diploma you wanted, and at the point I asked, well, can I have both? And they said yes. So I end up with two diplomas from two different law schools.
Good deal.
Yeah, exactly. If you cut it down by years, yes, correct.
So you learned law with good school, and then you become a judge. You're a lawyer before that, right?
Yes.
And you have many experience. And what made you run for the judge of City of Fe더럴웨이?
So I saw some improvements that could be made, as also interacting with Judge Larson and Judge Bales. And I have a unique perspective as opposed to my opponent, my current opponent. Number one, I think I have more experience, but also from looking at it from the other side of the bench, from either a defense attorney or a pro se, which is an individual who's not represented. Fe더럴웨이 is somewhat of a difficult court to interact with, and it's just not what I would call a friendly court. A couple of examples, which are not necessarily exactly how the court practices its business, but so I've represented people, even friends, and you can't contact the court by phone on a Friday. And they don't accept phone calls on Friday, so you have to send in an email, and they may or may not get back to you. And so that really is a staffing issue. And in researching for hopefully improving Fe더럴웨이, I came across some information on the website that's not either accurate, but also not helpful as it could be. And I get that unique perspective both from practicing at the court as well as pro temping in King County District Court. And a perfect example was when you go to their website, they have forms for people who are not familiar with the system. And so they have the normal forms in English, and they have it in Fe더럴웨이, they have it in Spanish, and that's it. We have interpreters that come with all different languages every day, and I'm actually going to talk with the administrator about it. Why don't we have forms in different languages for everything? And I said, you know, maybe it's just because of that's how many people there are, and they figured their resources. So I just actually looked at another court website, Linwood Municipal Court up in Snohomish County. And you go to their website, and there's about 6 to 8 forms that are interpreted into different languages.
You're talking about very detailed.
Yeah, and it's right, like most people for municipal court, most people that go to municipal court, it's their first experience with a court. And if they get turned off by it, whether it's an infraction, which is the majority of people, because not everyone's committing crimes. So do you want a good taste in your mouth for the court, or do you want a bad taste? And there's just so many things that could be done so much better that I think that I could provide that, especially with the unique view of knowing that there's things that could be changed and that other courts do it differently.
That's very good point of view that you just pick up. We need every language forms. That will be very helpful for the city of Featherweight citizens. That's good issue.
I agree. And could I add one more thing?
Yes.
So also what's interesting is in King County, they have what's called on Zoom. I'm sure you're familiar with Zoom. And so we do have in Federal Way the opportunity to appear by Zoom. Great. We also have 2 different calendars on certain days, especially for traffic infractions, where there's from 9 o'clock till I believe 9 till 10 o'clock is strictly Spanish language calendar, and then after that it's all the other languages that go onto the calendar. The problem is that we don't use Zoom as efficiently as we could because in King County they have what's called simultaneous interpretation, and it's a new thing, and courts just need to come up to speed to it. We don't have that at Federal Way, and we don't use it at Federal Way. And what that does is it increases the amount of time that we have to take. So it's a resource with respect to both the court clerks, the judges, the staff, as well as now you have all these people with all different languages waiting for what's going on. And there are just so many ways that it could be resolved by both with respect to the forms, by also having everyone appear by Zoom. And then what could happen is that, for example, if it was a Korean language case where let's say there are 5 people, you don't have to re-explain everything for each case. That just extends it all. Put them all into a breakout room, have the interpreter read whatever form, so it's not going outside of the bounds of what they're allowed to do because it's provided by the court, and say, here's what it is, and then they're ready to go in front of the court, and it just makes it more efficient.
Yeah, that is more practical for, to solve the trouble. That's a very good point. And what is the most important issue for the city of Featherweight? This kind of thing is very important too.
Yes, so I would say that and so I was addressing that because I think I think there are other things that can be fixed as well, so another thing that's different than King County. So I'll appear in Federal Way as a judge, and I'll handle cases, but what happens is half the people don't show up to the calendar, right? And so then if on a criminal case, you end up having to issue a bench warrant or re-summons, that sort of scenario. And a lot of times, I don't know the exact percentages, but what ends up happening is it's mailed to a different address, etc. And this is just a small point, but in King County, they have a text to your court date, and all it requires is another form where you just put in your information. My name is Mitch Greene, my text number is here, and the court sends out reminders because your phone is with you.
That's very convenient.
Your phone's not at home, and we don't know where your home is. So if you get the reminder, then you don't have the excuse to say, "Oh, I forgot about it," which is 99%. But to answer the question about what's important in Federal Way, I would say the most important issue is recidivism. And so what ends up happening is because it's a municipal court, so I know that there's crime. You just have to look in the news, right, with the shootings and heavy crime. Your patrons, your viewers should know that those are felonies, right? So those aren't going to be handled in municipal court. What municipal court handles are misdemeanors and gross misdemeanors and traffic infractions. So we can take traffic infractions off for purpose of this because, right, everyone doesn't like getting a traffic infraction, but that's not an issue in terms of what's most important for Federal Way. What's most important for Federal Way is the issue that you've got some of these defendants that have, 10 theft thirds, 10 assaults, 5 DUIs or 4 DUIs, because when it goes to 5th, you're going to felony court. And the problem is that it's a tough, that's the tough part about being a judge in terms of how do you stop that recidivism. And I think there's a couple different ways. One is community court, which would be a way to address what the underlying issue is. Like, why are you stealing? In other words, if you're stealing because you went to a Safeway and you got steaks and diapers and food, okay, so there's something bigger there. You're not reselling that necessarily. Mm-hmm. But if you're going and getting a water, which I've seen, water and soda, and those are the charges, or something of a higher price so that you can resell it, that's a different issue. And so you sort of have to separate those out. And the person who steals the food, those people sometimes are amenable to going to community court. Mm-hmm. And then you can get them the resources that they need. Mm-hmm. And that would hopefully help them from not re-offending. Mm-hmm. The people that are the chronic, at some point you can't just write them off, mm-hmm. but you also have to figure out what the appropriate, responsible punishment is. Correct, thank you. So that hopefully they'd get the message. Mm-hmm. And it's really tough because a lot of people just don't see it. And so at a certain point, you have to sort of just make that decision, and hopefully they come back. And one way that actually Judge Larson addresses it, which I actually appreciate, and we've talked about it, is so if someone comes back for a review, like this is their second or third theft charge, for example, at that point you have the right to have a review hearing where they would end up issuing a penalty, right? So the prosecutor would end up coming in and saying 60 days, and the defense attorney, who's usually a public defender, would end up saying, okay, we'll give him 10 days because he's already been in custody for 10 days and credit for time served, and he's out, right? So of course that's what they want. But what Judge Larson does actually addresses the defendants and say, who do you want to be in charge of your future, right? Because right now he would say, I'm in charge. And the way he molds it is to give a perspective to the defendant so that they understand that they can be in charge of if they just follow the rules. And so what he then does is, I don't know exactly if he would take the 60 of the prosecutor, he would come somewhere in there and give them more than what they would be to get out. And what he does is he suspends it. And he says, okay, well, here are the conditions, what you need to do. I'm going to impose the 60 days just for purpose of example, but I'm going to suspend it. We're going to come back in a month and see, do you have your alcohol evaluation? Do you have your theft class? Have you not had any more crimes, etc.? And if they've done what they've been asked to do, then he lowers it or suspends it and goes on. But if not, then the defendant is aware of what they're going to get by not following the conditions.
So people might understand better about the law system, then they shouldn't do the wrong thing.
yes, hopefully.
Hope so. So in the future, the light trail is coming to City of Fe더럴웨이,
right.
and more people are coming, and more revenue is coming also, but more crime will be here too.
I've gone to the Chamber of Commerce and been at some of the meetings where the head of the light rail as well as Jim Farrell were talking about it, and supposedly they've worked on a process with the light rail that they're going to have more police at that particular location to prevent exactly what you're talking about. Of course, those wouldn't be necessarily City of Fe더럴웨이 police officers, they would be county officers.
That's right.
But that's the goal, and they're trying to build up the City of Fe더럴웨이 so that there isn't crime.
So about how many cases are the judges solving in an year? Do you know?
That's a tough call. I don't know the answer, but it's quite a few. The way City of Fe더럴웨이 works is, in terms of the court, is they're able to handle 2 trials a week.
Two trials a week.
But the problem is that there's such a backup. And it's a very complicated situation, and a perfect example is community court. Community court used to be great, and it's sort of come down, and I think part of the reason is because of the success of community court. But then what ends up happening is you have gatekeepers, the prosecutors, who don't let the defendants in because they think that we're not going to give them an easy deal. You have the defense attorneys, who are public defenders, who don't want to track a case for longer than normal when the deal is 1 day in jail, conviction, see you later. But that just promotes recidivism because, oh, I didn't get punished that much. So that's kind of a problem, and it's a tough job from being a pro tem because I don't have control in the background to help and assist. I do have the ability to offer suggestions, which I've done with respect to community court, and provided actually a resource to Judge Larson so that he could use it for community court after actually meeting someone who put up at the Chamber of Commerce who has a essentially free treatment center for people that are disadvantaged. So it's a matter of everybody working together and being responsible, as well as the court holding people accountable. But we can't just wash our hands of the situation and say it's not all our situation. We really, what I would love to be involved with is sort of a brown bag lunch once a month where you get the parties together. And so obviously there are different parts of government, right? The judicial is separate from the executive. And I look at the judicial as sort of you still have the ability to be a bully pulpit, right? Like where you can suggest things and say things and say this is the way it should do. And going back, a perfect example is if we provide the forms, then things start moving a little bit smoother.
Sure.
So, yeah.
Okay. Is there any word you want to say to Korean community?
Well, yes, I think that I think the Korean community is represented well in terms of getting resources at the court level with respect to interpreters, etc. And we do take interpreter cases first as much as possible. But I think that some of the comments that I've made about increasing the information, like that court's been around for a long time. Why don't we have those forms in different languages?
Yes.
It would just make it so much easier. I think I'm the right choice for the judgeship, for replacing Judge Larson. I have the experience. I've been doing this for a long time. And I would ask that you vote for me if you think that I've earned your vote.
You are very sensitive, and also you have different view. We never had before in City of Fe더럴웨이, the new forms and everything. I think that viewers will listen and make their mind before they vote.
I hope so.
Thanks.
All right, thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks for coming, KOM TV, and good luck.
Thank you very much, and thank you.